Reggie Bright has been a leading force in the U.S. Center area for years. His pro wrestling career has taken many twists and turns. And as fate would have it, the last moment of his career would be Bright's darkest day. Reggie Bright was destined for success from his initial pairing in the faction known as Zero Tolerance. This group featured the man's man Dominic Dangerfield, the late Darren Richardson, the Princess Larissa, and Yuba City legend Ryan Piles.
The one thing that is like not recognized enough or not talked about enough is how well the Reggie Bright character was booked. Like, out the gate, you got to think there's a video promo with him, Dominic Dangerfield, and Darren Richardson at the time, 2 or 3 weeks before that airs on the internet, where we get to see Reggie Bright. And then the night of the show, there's the limo vignette that we all pull up, we all get out of a limo, and then we literally go straight to the ring right after that. And it's one of the second largest attended shows of all time in UCW history. And here's a guy being debuted to the audience, and he's in a predominant role on the show with the top heel. You can't ask for a better push. Even though we didn't have a traveling circus, we were so close outside of wrestling that, like, what you see on screen the night of a show, our chemistry was all real. We cared so much. We were so invested. You could see that he was going to be something. However, the irony in it is Mike outshined him in the ring, but what led to Reggie Bright progressing was knowing that that was his standard. And that's incredible if you think about it. When he did evolve and start to grow and start to blossom into the performer that he became, it's because he had goals to go, I'm going to be better than both of them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, in his mind, there were obtainable goals. And that's the benefit of what Zero Tolerance was. Ironically enough, him being the third guy, if you think about it, was a good spot to be in because he was still being primed and equipped to get the spot when it was time. Whenever that time may be, he was being equipped for that spot.
UCW booker David Alexander was behind the creation of this faction and its overall long-term goal.
You basically had like you and Larissa at the main event level, and then Mike, Dominic, and Richard in like a mid-card level to like dominate that point. And so it actually made you guys feel like more of a top to bottom group as opposed to just, you know, a bunch of guys surrounding like an entourage for one guy.
Right, like, hey, we're going to make sure this guy wins the title. But at the same time, we're also going to take care of our own stuff too.
Yeah. the idea was always that Mike would eventually like be the one to like,
take my spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that like, and I realized I'm laughing because I remember how much this used to make you mad. I know that their whole hip and famous thing.
Oh god, the subdivision. Of
Yeah.
Which is funny because Bullet Club has a subdivision, so go figure.
It was basically existing there to set up for them when they basically like kicked you out.
Right.
Bright went on a path of dominance as he defeated many skilled competitors. Bright's legacy began as he competed in one of his most historic battles with Eddie Vega.
Two, at that time, 300-pound guys.
Right.
At that time, set it off.
Right.
And that's because usually you have to have that big man, little man set.
Right.
It's very rare you get that unmovable object and the, so.
Yeah, it's the lock-up push,
yeah.
lock-up push.
Which, with the funny thing about it, is we kind of started it a little.
You did every, and then this is the cool thing about that Trial by Fire match. This is the cool thing. You guys did all the traditional big man spots.
We wanted to do that,
which is fine.
Sure.
Because it kind of sets the tone of.
And that's what it was. We wanted to put the pie in the face.
Right, we've seen it. Whatever.
Yes,
and then when you get third quarter and you guys
boom.
are slamming each other and doing all this crazy stuff, it's like everyone's like, what happened here?
I mean, we moved that last third of the match.
Right.
We were moving lights out.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And lights out. But I remember being able to just go with him on that one, and it seemed like we could have went 30 minutes.
Right.
And still been able to keep that pace we were keeping. But
it's so interesting, and that's why I define you guys as hybrid big men, because you fit the stereotype, but then you also bring something else, and then that's why you guys are going to be remembered. You know what I mean? That's why.
After Zero Tolerance disbanded, Bright began a very successful singles career, having competed against and defeating UCW legends Tony Dreamer and Ryan Piles. With Reggie Bright being at the pinnacle of his career, negotiations began to bring Reggie and Darren into WCWF as a tag team duo.
Been talking in the fall of 2015. We'd kind of been rekindling our friendship. Yeah. Been hanging out more, the three of us, as much as we could. And the idea was just getting tossed around about them maybe working the indies as a tag. And of course, I knew the goal was use WCWF as a platform to launch them into other, indie organizations in the region. I had no problem with that. Just, if I could help, sure, I'm a part of the process. Plus, I cared a lot about the tag division. I still do to this day. Tag division is very important to me. The idea was, again, to bring them in. We're going to do a 3-team gauntlet. It was them, Hip and Famous versus Perfect Kings versus the Sky Brothers, I believe, was advertised on the flyer. So that's all planned. Everything's laid out. I remember having a discussion on the phone with Mike in December, talking to him, reconfirming, because I'd only talked to Richard about the tag idea, and then kind of reconfirming with him about it. He's like, yeah, sounds good, whatever, I was like, all right, well, that's about it. And then there was, I don't really think there was much more that occurred until Richard called me about, Mike passing. Man, that was wild. Oh man, I remember it was yesterday.
In what became a horrible turn of events, Mike Dean tragically passed away. What was supposed to be the embarking of a new beginning turned into one of the biggest losses in Yuba City wrestling history.
I moved back from Texas. Mike was the first person that I really started getting a new connection with here. We had both moved away for a little bit and tried wrestling away from home. Came back, decided to basically start over again. And so Mike and I kind of, I don't know, I felt kind of a connection with Mike doing that kind of stuff, making those plans, and Richard was Mike's best friend. So when Mike passed, I feel like that was an automatic connection that Richard and I had.
With Bright's WCWF future going into a different direction, he began to rack up numerous wins as a singles competitor.
No matter who walks out tonight with that belt, you're going to be getting an ass whooping when you step in the ring with Reggie Bright. And just like everybody else, I'm going to make you tap, bitch.
It's not that I hate Nathan. I'm just going to prove that I am better than him. Nathan is going to get his ass kicked. I will be the new WCWF Champion.
The one thing that spawned from Mike passing to Richard that's really good to think about in a positive light is Richard's passion was still, like, it almost like Richard had to, like, dedicate the remainder of his career to Mike, symbolically. That's what I feel.
To be twice as dedicated.
Right, like that, honestly.
Dedicated for Mike, essentially.
Yeah, it just, you know, his career was, just a tribute to Mike. Like, I really feel that, like, his WCWF run is a tribute to Mike. And it's cool when you look at it in that positive light because, you know, the run that Reggie Bright has during his WCWF run is phenomenal. Like, undefeated.
At Battle of the Best 2, Reggie Bright was able to once again triumph over the long-term ace in WCWF, Nathan Brick, to win the WCWF Championship.
We knew what looked the best when we did it. So I was really happy with all that. The end of the match confused a lot of people. And so there was a lot of mixed emotions about that. But it's kind of what I wanted. Just keep things interesting.
It was, and that's the thing, like, when you look back on it, yeah, it was like a confused reaction, but they got it, you know, like, oh, hey, this guy cannot get up anymore. Oh, well, the ref says he lost. You know what I mean? Like, if you really simply break it down that way.
Yeah, and I realized going into that we were taking a risk with that.
Oh, yeah,
with the end of that match.
I think I told you I had cold feet like 2 days before.
Yeah,
I was like,
sitting at Denny's a couple of days before.
I was like, yo, we're changing the finish. Yeah.
At that point, no one had really seen me lose in WCWF. So for Richard to come in and be the first guy to take me out in considerable fashion, I felt like it was going to be really good for him.
March 31st, 2018 signified the final time that Reggie Bright would ever step into a professional wrestling ring again.
Tonight I got a huge announcement, and let's just go through it with the story. For my entire life, as long as I can remember, I've loved pro wrestling. My first action figures were the Rockers, the little 3-inch Hasbro figures. Some of the first memories of my life were watching Shawn Michaels against Marty Jannetty on Raw. Growing up, I used to wake up my brother by giving him Vader splashes every morning, and he's a monster. I don't know if you guys know, my brother's on the end over there. He looks kind of like me, but 6 inches taller. My sister would come over, and I feel so bad because I'd lock her up in the holds, figure 4s and sharpshooters. She'd be screaming, "Dad, get him off!" But my whole life I've loved pro wrestling, and when I was born with a messed up aortic heart valve. It was a leaky valve, and it never really opened up the way your heart's supposed to. And I was told before I went to high school, you can't do any contact sports. You can't handle the impact on your chest. And when I was 16, I joined WCW, but I couldn't wrestle because my parents wouldn't sign a consent form, which, as parents, I don't blame them. But as soon as I turned 18, I joined and I started wrestling. I was Reggie Bright, lighting it up. And then this year, I told my family, it's been about a decade since I've been to the doctor. And because I know what the doctor's gonna tell me. And I made a promise to my girlfriend and my family that if the doctor believes that I should not wrestle anymore because I'm risking my life every time I take a bump or get hit in the chest. And so tonight, I'm not going to be wrestling anymore. So that means I will not be your WCWF champion anymore. I wish I wouldn't have to. I really tried to lose it. I wanted to go out the right way instead of not being able to do anything. But Ryan is one of my best friends, and I don't blame him. He doesn't want me to risk Chris.
Man, Reggie.
So I just want to tell you guys, thank you. I've been doing this for 10 years in this town. It was really awesome to do something the doctor told you that you couldn't do. And I just want to thank you guys for letting me live a dream I've had. Like, even though I wasn't on the grandest stage of them all, I couldn't be happier than performing in front of you. Like, I'm serious. It's the greatest thing I've ever done, pretty much. And you know, just enjoy the rest of the show, and thank you for letting me do what I love. Okay? I'll talk to you later.
Reggie Bright will go down as one of the most dominant competitors in Yuba City wrestling history. His final accomplishment of going undefeated in WCWF and beating Nathan Brick will be very difficult to duplicate and will never be forgotten.